And also the instructor Delante definitely makes sure that any questions that you have does not go unanswered. Very genuine, very transparent, and really loves what he does. And that's one thing that I look for in a mentor, is someone that's very passionate about what they do. So it's definitely something that I would recommend.
You teach how the markets move, like, you know what I'm saying? How what really make the markets move, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know, before it was more like a network marketing thing. It ain't really like, you know what I'm saying, teaching how to trade. They'll teach you about trading, but they ain't teach you how to trade.
Everybody, welcome to Markup Mondays. And so, boom, this is going to be my first sales zone. And so we're following, if we follow the institutional footprint, next sales zone will be here. Because it's created this consolidation range, the next bounce is more than likely going to happen around 19,000, in between 19,000 and probably 18,000. You see, we have a buy zone right here. All right, and this is on the daily. We have come to the. All right, welcome to Markup Mondays, everybody. My name is Delante Brady, creator of the Snipers Anonymous course. Definitely glad to have everybody on the show. If you are here, if you're hearing me well, if you're seeing me well, go ahead and drop in the comments, what city you calling in from and what pair you would like me to analyze. If we have time to do that, we will get to it. What you just seen was a recap of last week. We went over SPX 500. We went over Euro USD, of course. We went over GBP, JPY, and Bitcoin, and everything we called out actually hit. If you were on the call last week and you were able to take advantage, and you were able to take advantage of any of the calls, go ahead and drop some money bags in the chat. If you were able to make money off of last week's Markup Mondays, off of any of the calls, go ahead and drop some money bags in the comments. So we're going to get to it. The first thing we're going to do, as always, to create good habits is to go over news. We always want to go over what I say for the forecast for the week. We always want to go over specifically news for the foreign exchange market. We want to know what's to come so we can work that into our analysis, right? Never want to jump into the market, just analyze the market and place a trade, because you never know when the volatility is going to come if you do it that way. All right. When we check the news, we can kind of get a forecast on when volatility is going to enter the market, which is very important to know. So let's go ahead and check out the news. The news source that I like to use is my FX book. You can also use my Forex Factory. It's called forexfactory.com. That's also a good source of news. I prefer my FX book because from what I've seen from my experience is my FX book shows a little more information. All right. So here's what we have coming up. I have everything filtered out. There are also orange folders and yellow folders, but the red folders are important to me. So this is what we focus on. So I have everything else filtered out. And so for Tuesday, what we have for the upcoming trading day for the London session, for the pound, we have some unemployment rates coming out at 2:00 in the morning. So if you're trading the pound, and as we go over the pound, definitely want to be paying attention to that. We have consumer price index for the euro at 5 a.m. All right. And then we have housing and building permits for the United States dollar. That's going to be during the New York session at 8:30 a.m. On Wednesday, we have inflation rates for the pound. This is a big one. This is something that you definitely want to have a heads up on. Don't forget about it. Just check the news every day. Make it a habit to check the news before you trade every day. It should be a part of your trading plan before you place a trade. You should always check the news. All right. So inflation rates for the pound at 2:00. And then at 10:00 for the New York session, we have existing home sales for the United States dollar. That's high impact. And then for the Japan yen, we have balance of trade and an interest rate decision. All right. So any Japan yen pairs, that's going to be huge. The interest rate decision. All right. They have a consensus. The previous was they dropped the interest rate actually by 0.1%. And the consensus, or what they believe is going to happen again, or what's going to happen next, is they're going to drop that interest rate on the Japan yen. Now, Thursday is a big day for the euro. All right. So the interest rate decision is going to be at 8:15 in the morning for the euro. This is huge because the euro has yet to change its interest rate. All right. It's been keeping it even at 0%. But the consensus is that they're about to start raising their interest rates, which is really going to affect the euro versus the dollar. And what we've been seeing is the euro selling off very strongly. They've been distributing very strongly, but we've come to a point where it looks like it's starting to turn around. And so there's a possibility we could have a reversal on our hands. Now, it is a bearish market until the technicals get broken, until those highs get broken, which we'll get into in a second. But we have to keep this in mind. And this is what I mean by forecasting, looking at the forecast for the week. Now, this is going to affect my analysis as I'm looking at the euro, because I know that on Thursday, right, in a few days, there's going to be an interest rate decision, and that interest rate may push the dollar down and push the euro up. All right. So that's important. We have jobless claims for the United States dollar at 8:30 a.m. For the pound, we have consumer confidence, and then we have the inflation rate for the Japan yen. All right. So big week for the Japan yen, big week for the euro. Inflation rates and interest rates coming out for the Japan yen, and interest rates coming out for the euro. And then on Friday, we have a lot of news for the pound, the euro. All right. All of this is going to be taking place during the London session, 2 a.m. in the morning, 3 a.m. in the morning, 4 a.m. in the morning. We have global manufacturing, retail sales. All right. So Friday is going to be a big day. I doubt that I'll be in the market because I don't trade on Fridays anyway, unless I see something really good right before the London session. And then for the US dollar at 9:45 a.m., we have global services and global manufacturing. All right, so that's our forecast for the week as far as what's coming up for the pairs. But again, just because we checked it today doesn't mean we shouldn't check it every day and before every trade, right? James, welcome to the call. Welcome to the call, bro. Cleveland in the building. Let me see. He said grab quite a few pips. Okay, so James said he grabbed quite a few pips on GJ analysis last week. Glad to hear it, man. Glad to hear it. Let's try to keep it up. Let's keep the streak going. So of course we're going to look at GJ again, but let's go ahead and get into the analysis. All right. And first things first, we're going to start off with Euro USD. Again, if you're tuning in, if you're watching a pre-recorded version of this later on, feel free to drop your comments. I will respond to them. I will get to them. And then if you're on the call right now live, if there's anything you want me to analyze, go ahead and drop that in the comments. And go ahead and like and share this. And if you're not already subscribed to the Snipers Anonymous channel, go ahead and subscribe. If you're watching from the Bold People Get Rich YouTube channel, go ahead, subscribe, and share this. Share this on your social media. All right, so AU, please. We got it. Got it, Letitia. So we're going to go over AU, GJ. First things first is Euro USD. So let me go ahead and pull this up, bring this up on the screen. All right, boom, here we go. Make sure everything is good. All right, we are good to go. So that second sell zone actually ended up getting hit as well later on. But the first sell zone to get hit was here. And we ended up coming up to that second sell zone and we started to sell off. And what's going on right now? All right, so remember we have interest rate. We have an interest rate decision happening later on in the week on Thursday. So let's go ahead and look at EU from a higher time frame. Let's go ahead and switch to the daily. All right, now as we can see, we've been trending down, right? We've been distributing. And as of late, we distributed really strong here, and it looks like it's starting to turn around. On the daily, we can see we got our 3-bar pattern, right? With our higher lows on either side and the lowest point. And so on the lower time frames, we are in a buying scenario. And when we drop to the lower time frames, I'm going to be looking for buys, but there are also going to be some sell setups, and we can't ignore the sales, because even though we look like we're turning around, we do have interest rate decisions ahead of us that could possibly make Euro USD bullish. Overall, this is a bearish market, and we should stick to the fundamentals of the technicals. All right, so let's go ahead and get a clean chart. Let's find us a clean chart. And yeah, let's go ahead and use this one. All right, so let's follow market structure. All right, I want to go over this again because market structure is very important, and there's a lesson within this that I want to teach you guys. So when measuring the pullback, when measuring this pullback here that's happening, should I pull from this high or should I pull from this high, right? And why or why not? Why or why not? Right. So let's go ahead and Let's make this make sense. All right, so we're going to start from our high up here down to our low. We're going to go from the low to the high. And then this is where some people get confused, right? Because some people will say we pull from here to here to here, right? But that's actually incorrect if we're looking at this from a higher time frame, right? Because the actual move is here. It's that simple. And some people will ask, well, why not point out this low here and this high? Well, because out of the overall move, right, where's the last major low? Here. We have our high, we have our low, we have our lower high. This high isn't really broken, pierced, or pushed through until this point here. And so anything that happens above this high is going to be noise. So even this high created within the entire move is really just noise. And you don't want to let that confuse you and mess up your analysis. All right. So how we're actually looking at this is exactly how you see it on the screen, from the high to the low, lower high, lower low. This is the entire move, despite the high and the low that we have within the entire move. All right, so this is how we're going to be looking at measuring Euro USD. Once we get the market structure down, this is where we want to pull out the fib and get the overall view of where EU could possibly be headed. If this is a pullback, or even if it's turning around, where are we most likely going to get some resistance at? Where are we most likely going to get a reaction? Okay. And of course, we have the 38%. All right. That's going to be the first area that we want to pay attention to when we drop down to the lower time frames. The second area is going to be the 50%, which happens to be right around that major low, right? Right around that double low that happened, because we created the low here and we also created a low here. We see that it didn't want to go down. We got a rejection. And then we finally broke below it. And so there's going to be some resistance. More than likely, there's going to be some resistance and a reaction from this area. All right. So the first area we want to pay attention to, let's go ahead and mark it up because we're going to end up deleting this fib, is the 38%. All right. And what I'm doing right now is creating a foundation and a map for myself so that when I drop down to the lower time frame, I know exactly what I'm looking at. All right. And then we're going to put something at the 50%. All right. So let's just call these, I'm going to call this sell reaction zones. Let's make this font a little smaller. All right. So sell reaction zone. And we know that this is the 38%. All right, so that's my little note so that I know where I'm at when I drop down to the lower time frame. And same thing, sell reaction zone. Font smaller. And we know that this is at the 50%. Now, what are these also going to be if I'm in a buying scenario? If I decide to buy from somewhere down in this area, what are these going to be? These are going to be take profit areas, or, right before we get to it, these are going to be areas that I want to take profit. All right. And these are also swing trades that we're looking at. We're talking about on EU. If we're buying from the area where we currently are, we're talking about hundreds of pips. All right. So this first one will be 150 pips. The second area will be 250 pips. If we decide to chance it and take a sale from this area, of course, we're looking for the reaction, but we're also going to be looking for an extension. We're going to be looking for the market to go lower. So we're talking about position and swing trades, which means we're going to get into placing multiple positions, or as some people call it, twin trading. And I'll explain that in a second. But let's go ahead and delete this fib. And let's drop down to the 4 hour. Notice that I'm not using any EMAs either. I'm not using any EMAs. I'm using straight price action. EMAs are training wheels that I gave you guys so that before you get to this point, it can be a little easier to read the market. But you don't need EMAs. You don't need RSI. You don't need what they call it, the MACD. You don't need any of that to basically determine if something is oversold or overbought. You just need support, resistance, fib extensions, and market structure, guys. Really. And then everything else that goes in between. All right. So on the 4 hour, let's pay attention. Let's do some investigation. Even from the 4 hour, I can see that this was a liquidity sweep here. You guys see that? We had liquidity. We had some equal highs resting here. And what happened? We came up to that area and we swept it. And now we're starting to head back down. All right. So that was that second sell area that we called out last week. And so just following the institutional footprint, where would the next sell area be? Really close to that 38%. All right. So we have a obvious area here. So this is my new first sell zone. And I'm going to put 2 positions here. Because this is a bearish market, this is where I'm going to be twin trading. This is where I'm going to be putting multiple positions in and splitting up my risk because I want to hold one of those. All right. So because I see the market falling from this point, looking at market structure, all right, first sell zone, I would like to put a few positions here. All right. If that fails, we have some imbalance here. And again, another sell area that I will put 2 positions. Second sell zone. Now, if we go beyond this high here, this little intermediate high that was created within the entire move, that's when I will want to hold off. I will want to wait to see if we would come for this high, right? Because this is the major structure on the higher time frame. That is the major high that if this is broken, now we're really talking about a full out reversal. We're talking about a full out reversal on the higher time frame if we get to that point. Okay, but for now, we're still looking for sales. And let's go ahead and drop to a lower time frame and see where we could buy from up to this point if we aren't already buying. Okay, so again, just like I identified the equal highs over here, look at the equal lows. You see that? You see the liquidity? Obvious liquidity with an obvious buy area right below it. I really love to see setups like this, especially with the current conditions of what could possibly happen due to inflation and interest rate decisions. All right, so we have our first buy zone, which happens to be, let's see if we can find some institutional levels, right? Which happens to be around a big figure institutional level. You guys can go ahead and mark that up on your own. The last area that I would buy from, let's go ahead and drop down to the 15-minute because there is a second buy area here. All right, so I also like this liquidity here. And so we have our second buy zone. Oh, I'm sorry, second buy zone. And first buy zone. All right, let me check to make sure there's no comments. Didn't break structure. Exactly, Letitia. Exactly. All right, and then so also I want to go over stop losses too for these position trades really quick. So for those trades that we see going further, you treat position trades just like you treat any other trade. You don't want to. I'm not going to get in for a trade where I see it going 150 pips and set a 20 pip stop loss. I'm not going to set a 30 pip stop loss, a 40 pip stop loss, a 50 pip stop loss. My stop loss is going to be fairly close to what my take profit is going to be, but it's never going to be more. All right. You have to make it make sense. If you're getting in for a position trade, you have to give your trade room to breathe. All right. So if I'm getting in for a sell here at around price level 1.04, 150, for example, and I see it going and extending beyond the last low, and let's say I'm going to go for 500 pips. I really want to have a stop loss of around 250 pips to 400 pips. Right? So that's right above this high here. All right? So if we're wrong, 200 pips would take us out there. If we did around 400 pips, that's really close to the last high, which makes sense. All right? So wanted to throw that out there too. If you're going to do a position trade, you treat it just like any other trade. You don't try to get in there and snipe it and go for 20 pips or go, 20 pips or 30 pips stop loss because you're not giving that trade room to breathe. That's a different type of trade. All right, but this is it. This is what I have for EU. First sell position is going to be around that 38% of the fib. Second sell position is going to be around the 50%. All right. And these are the swing trades that I'm going for. As far as what's coming up for tonight's trading session, this is what I believe is going to happen. I'm going to get a reaction. And these, you want to focus on reactions here. 20 pips and out. Don't focus on holding it up until the sell area. All right. Get your 20 pips and dip in that situation. And if you do decide to hold, just make sure you twin trade and split up your risk. All right, next, let's go ahead and look at AU because AU is very similar to EU. So look at it from the higher time frame. And so, like I said, AU looks very similar to EU. I really like this liquidity sweep that happened right here. It's like a telltale sign of what's going on. And AU looks like it's starting to turn around. It's starting to reverse. But I also want to point this out. It looks like it's turning around and it's starting to reverse. But if this wasn't here, what did this look like? this looked like AU was starting to turn around and starting to reverse. But because this is a bearish market, right? Higher time frame trumps lower time frame. What ended up happening? It fell. All right, so I want to give you that visual so we know where we're at. All right, so same thing with AU. We're going to be looking for short-term buys, long-term sales, and looking at this on the daily, where this could be going. Of course, if we're going to go for a buy from here, stop loss will be below the last low. Looking at it from the daily. No real clear sell areas. There's no real clear sell area on AU from the daily. It's just a lot of little candles where it like kind of trended down and broke the last low. But let's go ahead and pull the fib out. Right, when in doubt, market structure. Always go back to the basics. When things look confusing, go back to the basics. All right, so now we've built a foundation. We have something to work with. Let's pull from the low or from the high to the low. And where is our first area of resistance, or where a reaction is most likely going to happen? Have the 38%. Second area, 50%. All right, let's go ahead and delete this. And let's drop down to the lower time frame. And so it looks like AU is already starting to buy. So already first buy area would be here. If this high gets cleared, right? If this high gets cleared, if you want to, chance it and take the early buy, you feel like this is going to continue up. You can do that, but definitely want to wait, and maybe we find something on the lower time frame as well. All right, so I see a sell area here around that 38%. Of course, remember, focusing on the reactions. Tish, you already know the importance of that. You've seen the results of focusing on the reactions. And then here around the 50%, I actually like the big figure institutional level here. I like the big figure institutional level here, Tish. And the reason why is because there's I see somewhat equal highs here. They're not exactly equal, but more than likely there's some liquidity. And if they want to sell, they're more likely to sweep these highs and sell off, right, before the sell off. And as those highs are resting right below that big figure institutional level. So I like this area for a sell. Let's go ahead and mark that up. All right, so we have our first sell zone. And second sell zone. Hey, and Teach, do you have any is there any inflation rate news or interest rate decisions coming out for AU this week or for the Australian dollar? We know what's going on with the dollar, but what's going on with AU? All right, let's drop down to a lower time frame, see if we can see a buying scenario. All right, so following the institutional footprint, we can see where everything is reacting on AU. We can see where everything is coming from, right? We're coming from this area here. All right, we had to move up. We retrace right back down into that area, and now it's really starting to push up. And so here's the high that's being targeted. How many pips is in between the high and where price currently is? About 20 pips. So of course we want to wait for a pullback. Yeah, I see a buying opportunity, Tish. As far as like the next trade, do see a buying opportunity. Of course, first area would be here. If you get a retracement back down into that area, and I'm pretty sure you see this. And then the second area, we don't want to count out this zone here. We don't want to count out this thick buying zone here. All right, so if this one fails and it fills in some of this imbalance, this would be the last area that I would try to buy from. But that's what I see. Hopefully, AU slows down and gives you a retracement back down into this area. But I see a buy from there. And then for the swing trades, of course, the sell zones. Right? John. John would like me to repeat the stop loss info. Hey, John, for which pair? For EU? All right, now let's go ahead and move to GJ. All right, so we got a really nice buy from that daily buy zone from last week. And so the market sentiment, let me see, with I believe we have some inflation rate news coming out for GJ. Let me check something real quick. For the Japan yen and the pound. Give me a quick second, guys. I'm checking out the news again. Yeah, so we have inflation rate for the Japan yen, and it looks like they may be raising their interest rates. There's going to be inflation rate news for the pound as well this week. That's really only the major thing. We could see from what I'm seeing, we could see a little bit of consolidation from GJ, based on the technicals that I'm seeing and based on the fundamentals or the sentimentals, fundamentals and the sentimentals. But overall, like we determined last week, GJ is bullish. The pound is bullish and the Japan yen is bearish. Before I look at this, let me go ahead and look at the Japan yen and see if it still looks like it's falling. Yeah, I mean, it's going straight down. And so I can only assume that it's going to continue going down. Of course, could be wrong, but we're going to go with the direction that it's been going and the direction that GJ has been going. And we're going to keep that bullish sentiment with the target being these highs here. All right. So we're buying from this point. We know that if we're following the institutional footprint, we're buying from this point here. Next buy zone on the daily, we could retrace right back down close to that area. So the daily buy zone again. we'll go over that. Go over that again. It looks like I cut out. But John, as soon as I get done with GJ, I'll head over to EU. All right, so here we have a daily buy zone on GJ, which is in between price level, let's call it 162.6 and 163.3. Let's drop down to the 4 hour. Right, following the institutional footprint. Right, we shot up, came back down, and shot up again. So where is our next area where structure was broken? We had that movement right before structure was broken. On the 4 hour, we can see a clear buy zone here. Four-hour buy zone. And that's probably going to be it, because even as I go lower, more than likely it's going to look the same. Yeah. Yep. And that is within a previous mitigation zone. Can drag this across. Previous mitigation zone, buy zone. All right, so first buy zone on GJ is going to be this 4 hour buy zone here. Second buy zone is going to be this daily buy zone that we found on the daily. All right, James. So that's what I got for GJ. It's pretty simple. I don't really see any sell zones. I'm not looking for any sales. Of course, you can find some reaction areas, but what I see, 4 hour buy zone here and the daily buy zone right below. If it drops below that because of what's going on with news and what we have coming up for the pound and the Japan yen, like I said at the beginning of the analysis, we're looking at a consolidation type of situation. So, and GJ, it looks like it could possibly start consolidating. But these are the buy zones here, targeting this high here. All right, let's head back to EU and talk about the stop loss for that position trade. Okay, and John, did you see? John said, I'm okay with the stop loss. I was having trouble being able to chat to lie. Okay. All right, cool. Got you. So no need to go over the stop loss for EU. James said, looks good, still bullish. Thanks. No problem. No problem, JB. All right. Well, while we still have a little bit of time left, let's go ahead and look at what's going on with the cryptocurrency market. People might think it's bullish, but I have a different opinion. So last week we discussed how Bitcoin created a consolidation range, and so that more than likely when we came down to that same area, we were going to get a reaction, and that's exactly what happened. We did clear a high within the consolidation, but it's still within a sell zone. So don't be fooled. The crypto market isn't bullish just yet, even if, let me pan out to a higher time frame. Even if we go beyond this sell zone and we fill in this little imbalance here where you see the little blue box, all right, we have another major resistance area around 30,000. So maybe Bitcoin goes up to 30,000, right? Get people a little excited, but I still see it falling a little further. I would really like to see it go down to 50 or 15,000, 15 to 12,000. But what's going on with the cryptocurrency right now, or the cryptocurrency market as a whole, is consolidation within bearishness. Consolidation within bearishness, right? that is my opinion. Quick analysis on the cryptocurrency market. All right, but if there's nothing else you guys want me to look at, that wraps it up for Markup Mondays. We went over EU, just went over the cryptocurrency market pretty much. GJ, let's have a good profitable trading week. I really like the setups on EU. I really like those setups on EU. Out of everything that I just analyzed, I feel good about EU. Some weeks is different. You know, sometimes I might look at one of you guys' pairs. I might look at AU or GJ or, you know, whatever we're looking at and see, you know, better setups. But this week, I feel good about the setups on EU. Oh, let's check. You know what? Let's check one more thing before we go. One more thing. Let's look at the stock market. Let's go ahead and look at SPX 500. Because same thing. As you can see, last week we got that first sell reaction, and we also got a sell from the second sell zone, and it hasn't really come back above. But what's going on with SPX right now, or the stock market, is consolidation. It is currently consolidating, and as you can see from market structure, where I did that, you know, I pointed that out on one of the calls. Each green bubble represents a major high and a major low, or a major lower high and a major lower low. And so our last lower low was here. Short-term buying opportunity. I see a major, a major opportunity to get in short-term for a buy, but don't be fooled when we get down here and if there is a reaction. This is an old, basically historical high. This is where in 2020 or 2021, 2020, when COVID happened, we had that strong drop. There was an all-time high and then it dropped. And so we're starting to consolidate above that area. So don't be surprised if we come down here and get a really strong bounce. But for SPX, overall consolidation within a bearish market. And I think this week we're just going to see some consolidation. So maybe we see SPX go back up, you know, to this sell zone here, and we get a reaction. This is a previous mitigation zone right above a high. And so more than likely there's going to be a reaction here, and we may just stay within this range for the week. All right. Now that wraps it up for Markup Mondays, guys. Appreciate everybody tuning in. I hope everybody got value from this call. We do this every Monday at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 a.m. East African Time. And again, thank you all for tuning in. And I will see some of you in the chats on the charts and some of you next week on Markup Mondays. Everybody be blessed and get some rest for everybody back in the States and everybody here in Africa. Have a good rest of the day. Siku Gioni. Peace.